सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्तदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Before I forget, let me explain on the Virat portion, which somebody asked a question. In Vedanta, the individual self, known as the Jivatma, is essentially Atman, identified with the limited equipments of Deha, Mana, Deha, that is Stula Shariram, and Sukshma Shariram and Karana Shariram. The gross body, subtle body, and causal body. And when this consciousness associated with individual Deha is referred as Vishwa. Same consciousness associated, identified with the subtle body is called Taijasa. And the same consciousness identified with the causal body is known as Prajna. But the consciousness, which is the same, identified with the entire causal body of all living beings, identified with that is referred as Ishvaraha. And the consciousness associated with the Samashti, entire subtle body, is referred as Hiranyagarbha or Sutratman. And the consciousness identified with the entire all gross bodies, Samashti, Stula Sharira Abhimani Chaitanyam, is referred as Virat. So Bhagavan Krishna, when showing his Swarupa to Arjun, he said, I am all bodies. Okay. So that is why it is called Virat, Virat Rupa of Bhagavan. And the Virat Rupa of Bhagavan is Vishwam. Vishwam in the sense is the world. So the world is none other than the causal body of all living beings, the gross body of all living beings, which is enlivened by consciousness. And so he includes everything. Devatas are also there, Rakshas are also there. Birth is also there, death is also there. Construction is there, destruction is there. See, everything is pervaded by him. That is matta paradaram na anyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. Other than me, there is nothing else. My sarvamitam protam sutre manigana iva. Everything is intermittently connected by me. And this Hiranyagarbha, who is the Sutra Atman, the total subtle body with consciousness, is Hiranyagarbha. And also in the Puranic literature, he is referred as Brahma, the creator. And Ishvaraha is the causal form of all living beings. Therefore, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hriddeshe Tishtadi Brahmayan Sarvabhutani. Because we are all individually also are triggered by, influenced by, conditioned by the vasanas. All living beings are also, what they are is due to the causal nature of themselves. So at the time of Pralaya, the Sthula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram of all of us will go into the causal form. And causal body has no particular manifestation. Really speaking, it is Ajnana Maya, Tamo Maya. So it doesn't express at all. Therefore, it is in a dissolved state, just like we all go into the state of sleep. And then during the, what is called creation, creation is when the causal body comes to be manifested as the world, which has both the manifestation of Brahma, the total subtle body, and Virat of Bhagavan, which is total gross body. That is what is called creation. So it is from manifest to unmanifest, from unmanifest to manifest. That is what is called creation. All right. So here, while explaining the sattvic nature of the truth, sattvic nature of the mind, before that we saw in the 10th verse that sattva is overpowering tamaha and rajas. Ramas, we read the verse 10 and then we'll continue from there. Together, rajas tamascha vibhuya sattvam bhavati bharata rajas sattvam tamaschaiva tamas sattvam rajas tata. So at any given point of time, one is predominant, mukhya, and others become gauna, subordinates. So when you are sitting there now, listening to the lecture or getting some new thoughts and ideas and knowledge, then rajas and tamas are subservient. They are not in the predominant position. Whereas sattva is in the prominence. Tamas and rajas are in the background. But when we then get up and then get to finish your some work or call some people or whatever, you go for a walk and things like that, then rajas become predominant and sattva and tama becomes less, less, what do you call that? Less expressed, so to say. But then after that, you go in for a walk and then you come back and then you hit your bed, then tamas. Tamas become predominant and rajas and sattva become subservient, meaning they become less active. But one would ask, how do I know that I have sattva predominant right now or whenever? What are the indications? So here, next two verses are about how to identify what is predominant at any given point of time. So now we read 11, verse number 11 here. Sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasha upajayate jnanam yata tada vidyat Vivruddham sattvamithyuta sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasha upajayate jnanam yada tada vidyad vivruddham sattvamithyuta. Asmin dehe, in this physical body, sarvadvareshu, sarva indriyeshu, through all the sense organs, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, mainly, jnana, jnanendriyani, jnanendriyeshu, in all those which are meant for knowledge, prakasha upajayate, there is brilliance. Brilliance in the sense, ability to comprehend correctly. That is what is called here prakasha. So that means your sense organs are undisturbed by the mind in the sense all other thoughts and emotions or memories and things like that, they are in the alert condition. In that condition, comprehension of anything is easy. When the mind is preoccupied, the mind is disturbed, it is worried, or it is tired, fatigued, then even the best of the teacher cannot do anything. Because there the sattva is not at that time available. That's why we find in any given classroom atmosphere, you will find always one set of people very alert and very vigilant, extremely careful and watchful and observing. Some of them are there, but they are not paying attention at all. I used to say, this is a small anecdote, not anecdote, a small illustration. This I often repeat because I love it. In any classroom, there will be 4 kinds of students will be there. The last row, they are always there only. When we were studying in school, you will not be passed, you will not be taken to the next grade without you finishing the exam. And here they will just push you to the next grade. I know in India also they have not started doing that now. But unless you pass the exam, you cannot go to the next grade. There are some people who have been there in that grade for a long time. The teachers who come to teach, you are all there this year also, okay, fine. They are like a furniture piece, they are sitting there. Disinterested, not at all participating in anything. There is one set of people, last row. Then before them, there is one more row of students who are there because parents have pushed them to be there. They just to get pass mark. So they will be there and they will be the chelas of the last row. They are all the attendants. So they will be participating, half participating in the class, half participating with the backside benchers. Before that, there is one more row. They are good in studies, but they are always interested in asking the question, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? What do I do with this? So they only study what is useful to them and not everything. And they constantly disturb the one in the front. Front is nerd group. Totally actively listening, but the second row people will constantly nag them. So first row, of course, they are glued to the teacher and to the book. So the first row is nerds, second are utilitarians, third are chelas, fourth are the gundas. So this is how it is. So when they graduate, finally they become little, older. The first row people become professionals, doctors and engineers and whatnot. The second row people are the business people. They employ the first row people because they are always in utilitarian. They just make use of their study into making money. So they use the front row people for their business. They employ them. The third row people are the politicians. They employ the second row people. Well, second row people employ the first row. So politicians, they know how to manage these business fellows. They give them power, but only to make their political position strong. So the fourth row people are the best one. They are the underworld dons. They are the people who appoint the politicians. The politicians appoint the business people. The business people employ the nerds. So who actually finally becomes the winner here? The last row people are they are the game changers here. So the first row people, that is which is referred here. Sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasho upajayate. Then when that happens, yata jnanam vivruddham tata sattvam vivruddham iti vidyat. When knowledge becomes augmented, understand sattva is in the high. So where the knowledge has become high. So jnanam means here I said prakasha is jnanam. Yata jnanam prakasha jnanam sarvadvareshu dehesmin upajayate. When the knowledge starts to express through the senses in the form of ability to comprehend clearly without any ambiguity or doubt, at that time you understand sattva is on the high. It has increased. Sattva is predominant. So in our daily life also we find, beginning of the day, when you have taken enough rest, and then when you start your day, the first 4 hours they say is sattvic. Even externally, because your physical body has taken enough rest and your mind is pure, mind is relatively calm. And the first 4 hours of the day, of course, 4 hours means if you get up at 6 o'clock or 4 o'clock, 4 hours doesn't mean 12 o'clock you get up and then that is 4 hours. No, that is not counted. After sunrise, 4 hours. That's the best time where your mind is fully alert. Then next 4 hours, next 8 hours, I would say, from let us say 10 o'clock onwards, up to what? Up to what time? 4 hours you calculate. 8 hours. So it is 6 o'clock in the evening. It's Rajas. When the sun is high up in the sky, the entire body is only active externally. Then next 8 hours, from evening 6 to next morning, tamas. So what we find is that some of them say evening hours between 6 and 10 also is sattva, and then 8 hours of tamas. That is how it is calculated. So that is why satsanga and all between 6 and 10 in the evening. And morning, otherwise it's between morning 6 and 10. That is the best time for study, contemplation, meditation. Beyond 10 o'clock, body will start, becoming fatigued. Then it is 10 to next morning, 6 o'clock, 8 hours, tamas. Then again 6 to 10 in the morning, sattva. Then 10 to 6 in the afternoon, during the day, rajas. Usually that is how the body expresses. Now, while sattva is for jnanam, what is the nature of rajas and tamas? That is said in the next verse we read here. Lobha pravruttrirarambah did I say? Okay. 1 minute. Yeah. Let us see here what is happening here. लोभ प्रवृत्तिरारंभः कर्मणामशमस्पृहा रजस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे भरतर्षभ लोभ प्रवृत्तिरारंभः कर्मणामशमस्पृहा रजस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे भरतर्षभ लोभः प्रवृत्तिः कर्मणाम् आरम्भः अशमः स्पृहा. These are the indicators of rajas on the high, predominant. Etani jayante rajasi vivruddhe. Rajasi vivruddhe. When rajas is on the predominance, then etani jayante. These things will be seen to be manifesting. Lobha. Lobha is labhat lobha pravuddhate. So pravruddhi means vivruddhi, pravruddhi means manifestation or predominance. See, a person who doesn't have anything is not a lobhi. A beggar is not a lobhi. Who becomes a greedy person? Lobha means greed. One who wants beyond the needs. No, Swamiji, that is too much to say. Why? Because we know our problem is when we don't know when to say this is enough. We are not able to decide what we need. Our need keeps increasing. Our needs keep increasing according to the market, or according to the sale that is going on in the local mall. If there is a sale, our need will increase. Why did you buy that? It was on sale, but you don't need it. Who cares? So our garages become another Home Depot or some other stores because I may need it. Recently when there's a lockdown, etc., the peculiar thing, I don't know whether it's happened in Canada or not, I'm not sure, but in US, people bought this toilet paper so much. I wonder whether they are eating it at all. Why do they eat so much? What is the purpose? I have no idea. First thing that was out of stock. What? Toilet. Every house became a Home Depot. I mean, there's so many things they have stocked up. So lobha is labhat lobha. See, when let us say that if I am a person who's selling a product, I sell it for $4 while the cost is only $2. Then I think, why? If $4 I can sell, why not $5? If people can afford $4 for this, why not I increase the price to $5? This is where the lobha starts, you see. Lobha is where beyond the labha. Why not? Why not? It never ends. It can be 5, it can be 6, it can be 7. If there is no competition, you can go 10 also. Because there is no limit. Greed has no limit. That's what Mahatma Gandhi said. There is enough for everybody's need, not for one man's greed. So rajas is that which always want more. when we have any of this festival or any other things, when we have this prasad time, oh my God, that is the time maximum attendance come. You won't know, well, they would not be there otherwise. The time when prasad comes, you will suddenly find so many people there. How is that? Some people call, during our Shivaratri, we give dinner for everyone. Some people call, I have a question. Yes, when is your dinner bhiksha time? Is prasad time? Arey Baba, wo Abhishek chal raha hai. They don't care about it. When is your as though they have never eaten life in their life. They're not beggars, but still, if free, then I want it. Greed and pravritti, extrovertedness. Extrovertedness means where the person cannot remain quietly at home. There is a constant need or urge to get out, urge to go, explore, find out, experiment. Pravritti is the opposite of nivritti. There is no concept of withdrawal from the world at all. There is always engagement in the world. And that's why some people who are retiring, they get so agitated and unhappy because of, what do I do after retirement? Don't do anything. Itna kiya bas ho gaya. No. They can't. So karmanam arambha. Arambha means they keep on creating new work for themselves. Arambha means to start, to undertake. New things they start. They know that they cannot do it. It doesn't matter. Start. Then get caught up in that. The whirlpool of action. And ashramaha, restlessness. Anuparamaha, meaning they are not able to keep their mind and senses quiet. Such people cannot even meditate. Sit down in one place is not possible. Agitated, disturbed, restless. And because they are restless, everybody else around them also become restless. So these are all the, and spruha. Spruha means insatiable desire for things, especially when they see others have it. Paradanasya icha, that is what is called. When they drishtamatreshu, when they see somebody has it, I want to have it. Do you need it? I doesn't care. I don't care. I want it because he has it. She has it. That is called spruha. So these are all the indicators of rajas. So it is not for us to check on others. I think he has a lot of rajas. You are not supposed to do that. It is for self-observation, not for you to comment on others' behavior. Swamiji said, no, in the chapter 14, yes, that's what he has. See that? It is not for us to judge others. It is for us to observe our own moods as they arise, and then you know, oh, rajas is on the eye now. It's like blood pressure checking, You don't go on checking everybody's blood pressure, do you? If you know that you have a blood pressure or sugar, you keep on checking it, whether I have it or not. Then I'm going to be in trouble because of that. These are all like, when you go to a doctor, they will do the physical test. Is similar to that. This is called Vedantic psychological test. One has to do once in a while. Once in 3 months, you have to do it. Check. It is better to do it every day also. Etani jayante rajasi vivruddhe. On the predominance of rajas, these are all seen to be the indicators of that. Okay, Swamiji understood. Jnana vruddhi takes place in sattva. Pravritti takes place in rajas. What about tamas then? So, that is given here. Aprakasho pravrittischa pramado moha evacha tamasyetani jayante vivruddhe kuru nandana aprakasho pravrittischa pramado moha evacha tamasyetani jayante vivruddhe kuru nandana. We saw prakasha during the sattva vivruddhe. When the sattva is a predominant, we saw prakasha, brilliance. Opposite of that is aprakasha, absence of intelligence, absence of alertness, absence of jnanam, unavailable. Not that that person is unintelligent, don't understand that way. A person may be smart and intelligent, etc., but when tamas takes over, that will become jnanam avrityatu tamaha. We saw that. It covers, it clouds the vision of the person. And not only that, apravritti, that is rajas, which is of the nature of pravritti, tamas is of the nature of apravritti. Apravritti is not nivritti, Nivritti is a conscious, insightful turning the attention. Whereas apravritti is absence of external engagement and not internal contemplation. So when you consciously turn your attention to make your mind available for contemplation, that is called nivritti. Whereas here in the state of tamas, it is absence of external engagement, but not available for contemplation. That is why aprakasha is put first. Aprakasha, apravrittihi, and then pramad. As we saw, pramada is inadvertence or heedlessness, carelessness, delusion. So when the boy went to the school, it was a winter day. After many days of winter, so the Sunday school teacher, that is a Balvia teacher, asked, so Ramu, yes, during the snowy days, we did not have class. So what did you do? The boy said very clearly, I did prayers. Wow, I'm so impressed. What did you do? Prayer? Yeah, I prayed that snow continues. Would you call that as a prayer then? I don't want to do anything. So pramada is where an individual is not having any interest in doing anything. Alasya is included there. Pramada. Moha, delusion. Delusion is nothing other than unclear about priorities. That is called real delusion. Not sure what exactly one wants. Everything looks to be important, at the same time not important. The priority is completely skewed. So that is what is called these are all called the expressions of tamas. Tamasi edani jayante. Tamasi vivruddhe edani jayante. These are all seen to be expressed during the time when tamas is on the high. This man heard a knock at the door. Open the door. Police car was there, patrol car, police patrol. So what happened? Oh, your father he got lost in the car, in the park. Oh my God. So we brought him. So then he went, and then the daddy got out of the car. He was okay. He walked towards the house. Then the patrol car went away. Daddy, you have been walking in the same park for 40 years. How can you get lost? No, I got tired. So he took the easiest way to come home. So when we are tired and exhausted, we want everybody to feed us, everybody to take care of us. So that is why Swami Vivekananda said, before the world kicks you, you kick the world. And many people have this problem, When I become useless, when I become not important in this world, what do I do? Get prepared to be kicked. So, only way where we can remain content even at the time when we are at the last, very called senior stages of our life, is to reduce the wants and reduce your needs. Meaning, live a simple life now itself so that you will not be deprived when you are not able to do things by yourself. When we keep our needs high all the time, when we without thinking, without adapting to simple life, then obviously dependence will become more. And when you start depending upon others more and more, you will be frustrated only. That's why Gurudev says simple living and high thinking. What we do? Simply living, highly thinking. So when tamas is on the high, obviously these things are seen to be expressed more and more. Absence of even alertness and available knowledge is also not available. As I said yesterday, when a person is having liquid spirituality, that's what happens. Even if he is very intelligent and smart, when once that thing goes inside, nothing works afterwards. You hold to the nearest lamppost and start talking to it. So that's what will happen. So aprakasho apravrittischa pramadah moha evacha tamasi etani jayante vivriddhe. And interestingly, here Krishna says, see, Bharata Rishabha, he said in the previous verse. Rishabha is a bull. Bull is known for activity. So when he is talking about Rajas, he said Bharata Rishabha. And when he is talking about Tamas, what did he say? Kurunandana. Oh, belonging to the clan of Kauravas. Meaning all are Kurus only there. Kuru dynasty. So he specifically calls him as what? Kurunandana. Remember, the Kauravas are all Tamasic people. Okay, so we have learned what happens when each one of these qualities or the moods are on the high. But then, Swamiji, I can understand that these are all the effects of gunas or moods. But is it possible to overcome this? Is it possible for us to decide what mood we should be at any given point of time? Is it my choice? That I want to be in sattvic mood, I want to be in tamasic mood, I want to be in rajasic mood. Is it a choice, or we choicelessly have to go through this? And what happens when we cannot make any choice? What happens as a result of that throughout the life if I live without paying attention to this? See, until we read these things, we never knew this, right? This was not taught in his or schools or universities about these moods and all. We don't know about the mood, but we are still mooda only. We didn't know. So what happens to people when they don't take care of this and they live in that, whatever be the mood which they are predominantly in, then what happens? So now you see, Bhagavan Krishna is so beautifully explaining this. If you have a particular mood most of the time, you cannot change it towards the end of your life. That volition, that ability, that consciousness to change the mood will not be happening when you are towards the end of your life. That is why Gurudev said that Gita is for the living, not for the dead. Interestingly, in our tradition is what? When a person is about to die, we chant Gita for him. That fellow never touched it at all during the whole life. And when he was about to die, Sri Bhagavan, what is he going to gain out of that? So it is while living when we are able to change or increase sattva over rajas and tamas, we should do all that. If we don't do it, then what happens? So what happens if a person who is predominantly sattvic, what happens to him when he dies? What happens to a person to whom rajas is the high, when he dies, what happens? And similarly, tamas. That is spoken in the next verse we read here. Yata sattve pravruddhe tu pralayam yati dehabhrit tadotamavidam lokan amalan pratipadyate. Yata sattve pravruddhe tu pralayam yati dehabhrit tadotamavidam lokan amalan pratipadyate. Yatha means when. Sattve pravruddhe, when the sattva is predominant, dehabhrit, dehabhimani jivaha, pralayam yati, maranam gacchati. When a person who is identified with his personality, here deha means mana, buddhi, ahankar, everything is included. Deha does not mean only the body, because body doesn't have the quality as such. It has. It is basically tamas. But see, body is tamasic. You should understand that. Body is made up of tamasic nature of all the 5 elements. That is Prithvi, Apaha, Agnihi, Vayuhu, Akasha. These 5 elements have got 3 qualities, and out of that, tamasic nature is all the gross bodies are created, gross objects are created. From the sattvic nature of the Prakriti are the antakaranas, Mana, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta, and Jnanendriyani. From the Rajasic aspect of the same 5 elements are the Pranas and Karmendriyani. So, Sthula Shariram out of Tamas, that is Annamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha is made out of Rajas, and Manomaya, Vijnanamaya Kosha are made out of the Sattva. Now you see, the connection between, as I talked to you about, probably the body and the mind being sattvic by nature, Meaning, it has the capability of gaining knowledge. That's why it is sattvic, along with jnanendriyas. Whereas body is made of tamas. The physical body cannot do anything by itself. Therefore, the connection between the sattvic nature of a personality and tamasic nature of personality is the rajas. Unless the prana and karmendriyas are active, there is no real connection between mind and the physical body. It is through the prana only it is linked. Now, if a person is dehabrit, when it is said here, one who has identified with sukshma sharira, stula sharira, karana sharira, all of them, he is called dehabrit, dehabhimani, dehi. When such an individual who has total identification with this mana, buddhi, ahankar, etc., or body, mind, intellect, considering that alone as oneself, when pralayam yati, when he goes to die, goes to become physically dead, at that time, if sattva is predominant, meaning he has developed sattva during the day, during his lifetime, consciously he has kept it on the high. And how do you keep your sattva high during the whole life? Or when you come to know that you have a choice? That is why the religions of all religions have given us the means to keep the sattva high by worship of the Lord, japa, prayer, meditation, study. These are all out of choice you should do it, not out of compulsion. I choose to do japa, I choose to do meditation, I choose to do the worship, puja, I choose to do the swadhyaya. When you don't take a chance on sattva. Oh, sattva, when it sattva comes, I will read. Never will happen. You have to take initiative to keep the sattva high. It is like wanting to be healthy. And as I said that in the earlier stages of your life, you can eat anything, even a stone you can digest. But after when you're 35, 40, etc., you have to make sure that you eat healthy or not to keep yourself healthy. In the same way, sattva will have to be consciously made, brought up by the choices that you make. When such a person, when he dies, yada sattve pravruddhetu pralayam yati dehabrit, tada, then uttamavidam lokan. He will reach the abode of people who are men of high knowledge and wisdom, up to Brahmaloka. It is said that a person who did the upasana of a particular devata, upasakanam devanam lokan gachati. He will reach the abode of those deities he has worshipped. That's why in many of our stotrams towards the end, you will say, always you read, no? That, this particular thing which you read, a person who reads this in Shivalokam avapnoti Shivena sahamodate, when a person reads this, at the abode of Shiva or abode of Vishnu or abode of the deity, then particular loka he will reach there. Sarupya, Salokya, Samipya, Sayujya, these are all various kinds of mukti. So such an individual reaches the abode of the particular upasita devata, or if a person has done the proper karmas in his life, punya karmas, with an intent to purify the mind, then such a person will reach te brahma lokeshu para antakale paramritat parimuchanti sarve brahmalokam avapnoti. That's why it says amalan pratipatyate prapnoti. Amalan lokan pratipatyate. The pure world, the pure abode he will reach. if sattva is consciously developed and such an individual, if he or she leaves the body, he will. See, Bhagavan, and see, Mahatma Gandhi also, when he was shot, he didn't ask, who shot me? He didn't ask that question. Hey Ram. Why he was able to say Ram at the last minute? Because he was thinking only about that. He was not revengeful. Saying, if I'm ready to go anytime, and when he was shot, he said, okay, Ram, I'm coming to you. Andakalepi cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. Even at the last minute, if a person thinks about me, and thinking about it, Bhagavan, last minute is not possible if you have not done that during the whole life. Tasma sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. So, the choice that we need to make is now. Don't say that, last minute, let us see Swamiji. At that time, I will remember. One rich man was there, and he had 4 children. And he had given names for all the 4 of them, Bhagavan's name only. Rama, Krishna, Govinda, Achyuta. And when he was about to die, see, he was calling out all the names. Rama, so that first fellow came. Yes, Daddy. Krishna, the second fellow also came. Govinda, the third fellow also came. Was almost to die. Achyuta is the fourth fellow also came. Daddy, if you all the 4 of you are here, who is in the shop? And he died. He was worried about the shop. If all the 4 of you are near me, who is there in the shop to take care of the thing? Next birth, he became a dog sitting outside the shop. Rajas. What else we can say? So, now what happened to Rajas, you see? Rajasi pralayam gatva karma sangishu jayate tada praninastamasi mudayonishu jayate. Rajasi pralayam gatva karma sangishu jayate tatha pralinastamasi mudhayonishu jayate. Actually, such a person who is thinking about his work and etc., he will become mudayoni only there. That's what Bhagavan says. Rajasi vivruddhe, when it is understood. Rajasi vivruddhe pralayam gatva, maranam gatva. When a person is filled with rajas, at that time, when he meets death, karma sangishu manushyeshu jayate. Karma sangaha, as I said earlier also, karma is the prerogative of the human beings. So, such an individual will only remain in the world of action and not world of contemplation. In the world of action, where he is still engaged in pravritti marga, as we saw, the person of rajasi pravriddhe, what happens, or vivruddhe, what happens there? Lobha pravrittirarambha karmanam ashamaspruha. Desire is on the increase, and constantly the vasanas will push you to engage only in extrovertedness, and even as one dies, that extroverted tendency will continue, and one will be again born in the midst of world of action. On the other hand, if a person is on the tamasic nature throughout his life, tamasi pralinas, tadatalas tamasi pralinaha, When the tamas is in the predominant, tada planinas tamasi mudayonishu jayate. Mudayonishu means pashvadishu, tiryak stavaradishu, animals which cannot think or act. Thinking and action is not possible. They go only by their perceptions. They do not have intelligent living. They have only instinctive living. See, there are three levels of understanding: intuitive, intelligent, instinctive. Intuitive is wisdom, intelligent is knowledge, instinctive is of the nature of merely living by perceptions. It's a reactive in personality, never thinks. If a snake is there and you throw a stone, it will not think, oh, this fellow, should I do it or not? It will immediately start reacting. Even trained animals can attack the trainer also. Is it not? Oh, this fellow trained me so much, I should not attack. No. It will not have that ability. It may be trained to behave in a particular manner. When the training stops, or if you don't train, it will not. An intelligent person is not a trained individual. He is an independent thinker. Not because you are trained to think. So tamas is where the individual has no ability to think. That's why mudayonishu. Some people ask, Swamiji, if that is the case, why is that human population is so much of the increase in the world, Nowadays, human population has increased so much. That means a lot of new human beings are coming. No, not at all. Because of deforestation and other things, those animals who are wild animals which are to live in the wild forest, there's no more wild forest available. They come as your children and grandchildren. They are basically animals only. They have given by chance human body. The way they play their video games, you see them, kill, destroy. Do you think that is human? They are supposed to be in the forest, but they don't have place there now. So they come, given a new chance. They're supposed to be in Muda Yoni, they are given Manushya Yoni there. So that's therefore, unless we make the conscious choice during our living life, daily life, where we can increase the activities leading to sattvic modes, there will be possibilities that Rajas and Tamas will take over and hold us in captive. And thereafter, we will be victimized by them. And even at the time of death, we will have no choice. In which case, we will continue our next journey in the same way. See, in this life, at least you have got a chance to read Gita. How will you be sure that it will be next birth you will get a chance to do that? Swamiji, don't give us such heart attacks. I'll carry Gita with me. Where do you carry? If you carry here, it's better. You cannot carry anywhere else. You cannot carry a book of Gita and go to death. So digest and assimilate the knowledge. That's why Bhagavan Krishna very clear says, Nahi kalyanakrit kaschate durgatim tada gacchati. This knowledge, when you get and move ahead, the soul has to move ahead in this understanding. When the soul has advanced itself to the next level, it will not come down. This knowledge will not fail you. Provided the knowledge is assimilated by you in your own being, not just as an intellectual appreciation alone, where sattva has been increased by you consciously through this knowledge, then such a soul will not be left high and dry. And that's what he says, that next life you will start where you left behind from. You start from that point. Wherever you stopped, from there you start. That's why Mahatmas are seen There, where they have, in the very early stage itself, they have started to have that interest and ability to comprehend the higher knowledge. It's because they have done the homework previous lives itself. So nothing wrong in starting, even if you are doing late, it doesn't matter. Start now. That's what Gita's advice here. Start now, so that you would not regret yourself towards the end of your life. We'll see more of it in the next class tomorrow. We have tomorrow and day after also. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkhabhat bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Hari Om.